They were born into crime, long before they could spell the word. While most children inherited toys and bedtime stories, these sons inherited silence, codes, and shadows. By the time they reached adolescence, many were already familiar with encrypted phones, loyalty tests, and blood oaths. In the UK, children growing up in criminal households are statistically 3 times more likely to come into contact with the justice system by age 18, according to studies by the Centre for Crime and Justice Studies. These sons weren't just affected by their father's choices, they were being groomed to continue them. In 2025, they walk among us not as relics of a bygone era, but as architects of a new, digital underworld. A recent Europol report highlights a 62% increase in the use of encrypted communications and cryptocurrency among organized crime groups since 2020. These tools are now standard. They use tech not just to hide, but to scale. Their fathers made headlines with violence, drug empires, and bold-faced defiance of the law. Their sons, they make no such noise. Instead, they run front companies, invest in crypto, and manage networks cloaked in legitimacy. Some have university degrees, others have political connections, but all of them understand visibility is vulnerability. Underneath the legitimate facades, coffee shops, luxury car rentals, boxing promotions, lies the same machinery, trafficking, laundering, and enforcement. The Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, has flagged a 400% spike in suspicious crypto transactions tied to high-risk zones in London and Liverpool over the past 3 years. This isn't the story of crime fading away. It's about how it evolved and the heirs who keep it alive, smarter, quieter, and deadlier than before. For decades, the United Kingdom has produced some of Europe's most formidable and feared crime families. Syndicates like the Adams, Kinahan, and Arif clans weren't just local legends, they were national threats. Their activities spanned drug trafficking, extortion, racketeering, and contract killings. At the height of their power, police reports linked these groups to multi-million-pound operations spanning Europe and beyond. Today, many of these original patriarchs are dead, imprisoned, or in exile. Yet, their legacy hasn't disappeared, it's evolved. Crime analysts and criminologists argue that organized crime in Britain hasn't shrunk, it's gone digital, corporate, and more elusive. According to a 2023 report from the National Crime Agency, the structure of UK crime groups is now flatter, with increased reliance on encrypted tech and international logistics. At the center of this transformation are the sons, young men raised in a paradox of violence and wealth. Many were sent to good schools, shielded from turf wars, and taught to blend into society. But beneath the tailored suits and investment portfolios lie decades of generational knowledge on how to evade law enforcement and run underground economies. These heirs aren't smashing heads in alleyways like their fathers once did. They're investing in properties, laundering money through shell corporations, and building networks that stretch from Dubai to Dublin. The Office for National Statistics reported a 58% increase in financial crimes involving cryptocurrency between 2021 and 2024, many linked to individuals with known organized crime affiliations. The code that governed their fathers remains: loyalty, silence, and the pursuit of profit. But the game has changed, and the new players are more difficult to trace, let alone stop. Daniel Kinahan, son of Christy Kinahan, is more than just a name. He is the embodiment of how organized crime has modernized in the 21st century. With his father once dubbed the Dapper Don, Daniel represents a sophisticated new face of criminal enterprise. Despite being under US and EU sanctions and having a $5 million reward on his head by the US government, Daniel remains at large, reportedly operating from Dubai, where there are no extradition agreements in place with Western law enforcement. He's not just evading the law, he's outpacing it. Daniel's reach extends into legitimate sectors, particularly boxing. He has acted as an advisor to world champions and negotiated multi-million-dollar fights. His influence was so profound that in 2020, he was credited with brokering a proposed unification bout between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. But this high-profile presence masks deeper operations. Investigations by the BBC and Irish authorities have linked Kinahan to a network spanning over 20 countries, with estimated revenue exceeding £1 billion from narcotics, arms dealing, and money laundering. A 2022 Europol assessment named the Kinahan cartel among the top 5 most powerful organized crime syndicates in Europe. Then there's Lee Byrne, son of Liam Byrne, one of Daniel's closest allies. Lee presents the archetype of the new generation gangster. Instagram-perfect lifestyles, designer fashion, and celebrity affiliations paint the picture of success. His relationship with Lily Gerrard, daughter of football icon Steven Gerrard, placed him in tabloids, but this public persona deflects attention from alleged behind-the-scenes dealings. Irish Gardaí continued to investigate Lee's ties to logistics networks allegedly used for cross-border trafficking. In 2025, the Kenahan network doesn't operate from the shadows, it casts new ones. Their business model has evolved to use crypto wallets, shell companies, and digital brokers. A 2023 Interpol report identified that over 70% of criminal crypto wallets investigated had ties to Irish or UK-based crime groups, with Kinahan affiliates at the top of the list. Despite mounting legal pressure, including seizures of luxury properties and freezing of assets, the cartel's operations continue to adapt. As of this year, Daniel Kinahan remains a wanted figure, unseen but not inactive. The power he wields is no longer enforced by brute force, but brokered in encrypted whispers across continents. In North London, the Adams family, officially known as the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate, once held a grip over the capital that rivaled any modern crime network. Founded by the 3 brothers, Terry, Tommy, and Patrick, this syndicate was involved in everything from arms trafficking and extortion to large-scale drug smuggling. The Metropolitan Police has historically described them as one of the most professional and feared organized crime groups in British history. Terry Adams, the reputed boss, served time for money laundering. Tommy, dubbed the Enforcer, was linked to numerous violent incidents and received multiple convictions. Patrick handled finances and logistics. Their reign peaked in the 1990s, and by the early 2000s, law enforcement had scored several victories, jail terms, asset seizures, and investigations into political corruption. But by 2025, it's no longer the brothers who make moves. Instead, it's the next generation, rarely named in public, but increasingly present in business and property circles. These young men and women are discreet, legally insulated, and more financially literate than their predecessors. Crime researchers at King's College London suggest that elements of the Adams network remain active through shell companies registered offshore. They've reportedly invested in high-end real estate across London and southern Spain. Surveillance reports have noted links to security contracts for exclusive nightclubs, luxury vehicle imports, and even art dealing. Unlike the overt violence that defined their fathers, the new Adams generation operates through influence. They control the flow of money, not bullets. Their fingerprints are on balance sheets, not crime scenes. They've learned from history, not to repeat its mistakes, but to refine its methods. The National Crime Agency suspects that remnants of the Adams clan still manage millions in illicit funds laundered through cryptocurrency and overseas trusts. Yet, convictions are rare. In the modern era, power is harder to see and much harder to prove. Curtis "Cocky" Warren was once dubbed Britain's Pablo Escobar, with drug connections that reached Colombia, Amsterdam, and West Africa. As Interpol's most wanted Briton during the 1990s, Warren reportedly amassed a fortune of over £200 million. His criminal network was estimated to have moved tons of cocaine and heroin through British ports, exploiting the same logistical pipelines used by legitimate industries. After multiple prison stints, including time in the Netherlands and the UK. Warren was released again in the early 2000s and 20s. While his name receded from front pages, his legacy remained etched into the DNA of Merseyside's underworld. In 2025, Liverpool's criminal landscape hasn't quieted, it's shifted. Younger figures with familial and operational ties to Warren's legacy have emerged. While not direct sons, these are nephews, mentees, and long-time loyalists, individuals who grew up around the business and inherited more than just tactics. They've inherited a blueprint. According to Merseyside Police, encrypted communications and burner phones remain central to these groups. A report from the National Crime Agency in 2024 linked new Merseyside-based gangs to international supply chains routed through Antwerp, Rotterdam, and Eastern European ports. These networks are leaner, more agile, and significantly harder to trace. Gone are the flashy cars and ostentatious jewelry. Today's operators embrace the anonymity of tech. Instead of buying nightclubs, they invest in logistics firms. Instead of street-level violence, they use ghost companies and crypto wallets. In the past 3 years alone, the HM Revenue and Customs has seized more than £90 million in suspected laundered funds tied to Liverpool shell firms. The expansion continues, not through fear, but through finesse. These modern heirs don't want headlines. They want volume, reach, and sustainability. And by most law enforcement metrics, they're succeeding. In South London, the Arif family name still carries weight in certain circles, though their heyday of the 1990s may feel distant to the public eye. Back then, the Arifs were synonymous with violence, racketeering, and drug distribution, operating with military-like discipline. Today, most original members have either served time or been deported to Turkey, but their influence lingers through relatives and loyalists. In 2025, the remnants of this empire no longer present themselves as a unified syndicate, but as decentralized crews. According to data from the Metropolitan Police, gang structures in South London have become increasingly fragmented, with at least 70 identified micro-crews operating between Peckham, Lewisham, and Croydon. Among them are young entrepreneurs tied by blood to former Arif soldiers. These modern heirs run real estate flips in gentrifying boroughs, promote music festivals, and manage private security firms. But intelligence reports suggest many of these operations serve as smokescreens for drug and arms trafficking. The National Crime Agency has opened multiple investigations into suspicious property deals in Southwark and Lambeth, where shell companies linked to known Arif associates are prevalent. Birmingham tells a parallel story. Families historically linked to the Noonans and Brindles, two of the most feared names in the Midlands, now maintain a quieter but still potent presence. Local law enforcement cites the emergence of second-generation actors who've replaced street muscle with boardroom strategy. Sons who once idolized their father's brutal authority now lead crime networks with spreadsheets and offshore trusts. They control logistics chains that move narcotics from European ports to inner-city markets. They sponsor local music talent, often in drill or grime, as both a community inroad and a money laundering mechanism. A joint task force report in 2024 linked Birmingham-based labels to over £8 million in illicit funds. While the brutality of their predecessors still echoes in legend, the modern operatives embrace subtlety. They know that in 2025, success isn't about controlling the block, it's about owning the pipeline. In 2025, organised crime in the UK no longer relies solely on street-level enforcement. It thrives in a digital and economic arena. Sons of former gangsters are not merely continuing the family business, they're reinventing it. Cryptocurrency has emerged as the financial backbone of modern criminal enterprises. According to Chainalysis, over £10 billion in illicit crypto transactions were traced in Europe in 2024 alone, much of it connected to dark web marketplaces, peer-to-peer transfers, and decentralized exchanges used for laundering. Criminal groups now use a combination of privacy coins like Monero, mixing services, and legitimate-looking e-commerce stores to clean money with stunning efficiency. Encrypted messaging apps such as Signal and Telegram are the new safe houses. Territory battles are now conducted through hacking forums and cyber exploits. Guns may still exist, but control today comes via passwords, wallets, and servers. Recruitment has evolved too. No longer conducted on street corners, it's now led by influence. Drill music, Instagram, and TikTok function as marketing arms of the criminal ecosystem. Young men are drawn in by a curated lifestyle, designer tracksuits, Lamborghinis, private jets. It's less about fear and more about aspiration. Criminologists from the University of Kent note that social media has blurred the line between reality and myth, making the gangster lifestyle seem not only possible, but desirable. This kind of influence is hard to police. The UK's National Crime Agency reported in 2023 that online gang content had risen by 81% since 2020, with over 3,000 flagged videos suspected of promoting criminal behavior. Many of these creators are not anonymous. They're second-generation crime figures with hundreds of thousands of followers. In this new world, the crime boss is an influencer. His product, fear, status, and wealth, packaged in high resolution and shared with a swipe. The National Crime Agency, NCA, in coordination with Europol and Interpol, has had to modernize its strategy. After Operation Venetic exposed over 10,000 encrypted messages through the EncroChat hack in 2021, major arrests followed across Europe. Yet by 2025, newer, more secure communication platforms like SkyECC clones and custom VPN overlays have taken root. Law enforcement is now dealing with a different enemy, strategic, disciplined, and often educated. The sons of former kingpins don't flaunt their wealth on street corners. They use offshore trusts, encrypted payment rails, and anonymized logistics to move product and money. Europol reports a 45% rise in cyber-facilitated trafficking across the UK since 2022. Still, the violence hasn't disappeared, it's just changed form. London saw a 14% increase in knife crimes in gang-affected boroughs in 2024. In Greater Manchester, several disappearances remain unsolved, many with whispers of gangland executions. These aren't turf wars with spray paint and shootouts. They're surgical, precise, and nearly invisible. The story of organized crime in the UK isn't about gangsters fading into history, it's about evolution. The old bosses may have aged or vanished, but their legacies are coded into a new generation. These heirs move with precision, hiding behind luxury brands and digital infrastructure, shaping criminal enterprises as invisible CEOs. Law enforcement is adapting, but so are they. With encrypted tech, decentralized logistics, and global financial tools, today's crime families are harder to trace, prosecute, and predict. A report from the Home Office in 2024 warned that generational criminal networks are now the biggest long-term threat to domestic security. This isn't fiction. It's Britain's quiet reality. A digital underworld where the suits are sharper, the tactics smarter, and the past never really lets go.